today I'm talking about 3 Imogen Poots films all about real-life artists. And the names of those 3 films are Jimi, All Is By My Side, Me and Orson Welles, and Greetings from Tim Buckley. Next up is Jimi, All Is By My Side. This is a 2014 film starring Andre 3000, and the basic premise is it's about Jimi Hendrix over the course of, I think, like 3-ish years. Basically him going from just like in a small nothing band to the formation of the Jimi Hendrix Experience. And it's really good. I thoroughly enjoyed this. Andre gives a great performance as Jimi. I really loved how like they didn't sugarcoat him. He was an asshole, he was a dick at times, maybe even a little bit abusive, even though that's a bit controversial. But then he was also really charming, and you could really feel like the talent flowing off of him, and just like people reacting to his talent in such different ways, but like you could really connect to it. They also tried lots of like more experimental things, which I thoroughly enjoyed, especially like things with sound. Like there's just moments where like the sound and the picture aren't exactly lined up. Maybe like we're seeing later in the conversation, but we're still hearing this other part from earlier, or kind of just like the more emotional response of what's going on, and I think that was done really, really well. There's other moments where there's just a lot of quiet in this movie, which I think works really, really well, because in a movie that's all about music and jams, you need those moments of silence to really elevate when we do finally get to hear the music. Imogen's not in this movie a ton, but when she's there, she's definitely a commanding presence, and I definitely liked what they did with her character. Could I have used a little bit more? Yes, but I'm biased. She's one of my all-time favorite actors, so I am fine with what we got. I will say though that they weren't able to actually get any Jimi Hendrix official music. So all of the music that's in the film are covers and other people's music. So if you are a big Jimi Hendrix fan, that's the only thing I would really caution. Just don't expect any of his music because they didn't get the rights, because the people who own his rights wanted a lot of control and they were gonna, you know, tone down the story. But this feels like a very genuine telling of it. Like he definitely was, without a doubt, an incredibly talented person, but he was also a real and flawed person. It's better to get that whole picture and not have the music rather than have the music and have a tamed down bullshit version. Looking at you, Bohemian Rhapsody. So yeah, despite the music issue, I would wholeheartedly recommend it. I thoroughly enjoyed it, and I think it's definitely, without a doubt, a very good experience. Next up is Me and Orson Welles. This is a 2008 film starring Zac Efron, and the basic premise is it's a historical fiction film, so it's inspired by a photo of a real event. Back in the 30s, Orson Welles was doing Julius Caesar, and there's a photo from the production of him sitting next to a 14-year-old boy, and so the writer of this film saw that photo and was like, dude, that 14-year-old boy, that's the story. So this production did happen, but the story that's being told in this film is a work of fiction. And so like people who were actually involved were a little annoyed that it's bullshit, but like I think the story that they told was a good, well-told story. I definitely think Zac Efron gave a solid performance. He was the lead. The guy they got to be Orson Welles was incredible. He looks like Orson Welles. He sounds like Orson Welles. He acts like how I think Orson Welles should act. This big commanding presence. I'm so happy that they went with an unknown rather than just like some big name star wanting to pay homage to the greatest actor ever. And instead they got someone who like knows their shit, and he freaking crushed it. Imogen's barely in the movie. I think like 2 scenes. She's basically just supposed to be a pretty woman, and she's a pretty woman, so good job. Claire Danes is also in this, and she's pretty solid. She's doing similar things to other roles of just kind of being like a slightly misunderstood woman who's just kind of off on her own. But even though I have seen her do very similar things, I still enjoyed her performance here. It definitely did feel a bit hero worship-y at times. I think that brought it down a little bit. Plus I didn't 100% connect to it. It's quite like, so it's basically a 4 out of 5, but I wasn't able to fully connect to it. I think part of that could be because like I do like Orson Welles. I enjoy a number of his films. I haven't seen all of them, but like I understand why other people put him in such incredibly high regard, and I definitely think he deserves a lot of the praise. I just don't personally have such a huge hero worship of him, so that could partly be why it didn't entirely connect to me and get pushed over into the really liked category. Regardless though, I did enjoy it a lot, and I would still recommend it, especially if like you're a theater person or a classic film person. I think you're gonna get a lot more out of it than just like someone who's only into modern stuff or not in the theater scene. But I think you can and still get stuff out of it. So yes, I enjoyed it. I would recommend it. I'd especially recommend it if you're a nerd. So yes. And lastly is Greetings from Tim Buckley. The basic premise is Tim Buckley has died, and so his son that he's met like 2 times in his life is gonna play at his memorial service. That's about it. That's the whole story. This was a hard watch. There are flashbacks to Tim Buckley as a young man, roughly the same age as his son is at the time of his funeral. And I like that stuff a lot. That was really interesting. It kind of goes away after a while, and that's annoying because that was good. What's so interesting too is that like the father and son are assholes. They're terrible people. Like the father is cheating on his pregnant girlfriend, wife, person all the time. But like I am in a sense more okay with it because like I give a shit more about his character. He's more charming. He's more understanding. Whereas like the main character, Jeff, the son, he is just like, he feels so entitled. He feels like a little weird asshole. He is so strange. Like he goes on a date with Imogen's character to this record store and they're looking at records and he's just being an asshole the entire time. And then eventually he just picks up a record and then he starts just making sounds. He's technically like sing-songing the vibe of the record using not words. It's very reminiscent of that famous video of Yoko Ono just making the weirdest sounds while John Lennon is trying to play with Chuck Berry. On the south side, high up on the ridge, just a half a mile from the Mississippi. Like that's what he was doing for like 2 minutes, and it's maybe supposed to be charming, but all it did was just make me hate this guy. I'm like, what are you doing? Stop being so weird. This is strange. This is not a vibe. And like Imogen's good in this. She definitely is charming and it almost make me like enjoy myself at times while I was with this terrible character. But then he would just do something and say something that was really dumb. And he's sad that the dad's dead, even though the dad was never in his life. And like he inherited all of his talent from his dad, and also being related to his dad definitely helped his career. So like, I don't know. And he's just like right out of the gate starts hitting on women, and I'm like, no, just stop. But it's supposed to be charming, maybe? I don't know. And then also there's just like a lot of jam sessions, and like the last third of the movie is just like the concert, and it's like, I don't give a about this. This isn't a story, this is just a concert. This wasn't a didn't like though, because besides the main character, I enjoyed everyone else, especially Imogen. She's always great, and this is no exception. But man, yeah, no, it was a bit of a struggle bus to get through. I definitely think it would help if you're a fan of either Tim or Jeff Buckley, because you'll definitely enjoy the jam sessions more than I did. But just, yeah, no, the music was not my vibe, and I really did not care for the main character. So yes, this wasn't really my movie, and I would not recommend it unless you're a big fan of either Jeff or Tim. Alrighty, now for today's rankings. First up, we got Jimi All is by my side, sitting number 15 in the really like section. And then after that is me and Orson Welles, sitting number 31 in the quite like section. And then bringing up the rear, not too terribly far behind, is Greetings from Tim Buckley, sitting at number 38 in the meh section. And this is a total of 45 old movies so far this year.